that brings us to the last guest of the day.
Yay.
So joining us from Texas is Marcus Bridgewater, the personality behind Garden Marcus. And he's launching a new book next month too, which is very exciting. So Marcus, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, God, thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody, and happy first day of spring. Again, thank you so much, Ferry-Morse. It is a pleasure and a half to join you guys today for the first garden get together. There are a lot of joys that come from gardening, as you all were saying, and a lot of that for me comes in the essence of watching things grow. And while I watch things grow, I'm reminded that I myself am wanting to grow and am striving to grow. And so within that ethos, the garden provides endless lessons. It provides endless joys. There are smells, there are colors, there are sights, there are so many things to engage with when it comes to the garden. And as my journey of gardening, so to say, has taken root, I find myself constantly mystified in the garden. Despite having crossed thousands of plants at this point, having lost hundreds, having nurtured back hundreds, I am still seeing new things every day. And that has struck me as really important to note, because the versatility of plants can be easily underappreciated. But the more we stop to appreciate it, the more we grow ourselves. And again, that's really rooted in the endless learning. I have a dichotomy that I share with everyone. It's lesson versus barrier. And in the garden, we are presented with the opportunity to learn tons of lessons. And every experience that we learn a lesson from brings us more peace as we go forward. But at the exact same time, there is a choice being made. We also could turn that same experience into a barrier and called ourselves a bad gardener. And now we're bad gardeners, and now we try and avoid gardening. We're not learning any lesson. And guess what? We're getting further away from peace. So I see gardening as a real opportunity to engage with life and to better myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so much of this is done through the experimenting of the garden and through trying new things, through learning through that experimentation. Again, if you are new to gardening, then I really think that the first step you should take is to just go get a plant and start engaging with the relationships with the plant. If you are an experienced gardener, but you have lost touch with the joy of gardening, then I encourage you to stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and look at the plants objectively. So often, because of the battle going on between life and the world turns this great entity that is plants into a commodity that we must consume. And now we've got to produce. I've got to worry about whether or not it's growing or it's not growing. Am I giving it the right nutrients? And we start thinking about the reward before we think about the process, and we think about how much we can learn as we go down the process. And so to me, that's why I use gardening as a chance to experiment. I have lost lots of plants in my experiments, but I've learned in quantable amounts of information in those same experiments. And I encourage you all to experiment, just because you never know what you're going to learn when you start going down the pathway of challenging yourself to try new things. And sure, there have been a lot of times where I've read, and again, I'm from Zone 9B, hail to the Zone 9B. There have been a lot of times where I've read something that said, oh, it's not going to grow here in Zone 9B. And I've thought, wow, okay, but why? After research and seeing that it's about the temperatures and about where the germination state's going to come from, where the pollinators come from, I start to think to myself, are there ways that I can circumvent those things with the experimentations? And again, it has taken my experience in directions that are so vast that I would never have thought I would cross. And a lot of that is because we are challenged by nature every day. Nature and all of the challenges that come with consuming resources make for an incredibly intense experience for most of us when we try to start out. It becomes daunting. But again, the more we face these challenges with the lesson versus barrier, the more we face these challenges and see the opportunity in front of us, the more it opens up a world that seems to be infinite. And I love planting seeds. I love the idea of planting seeds because every seed is a unique plant in itself. Every seed has the potential to yield multiple leaves, multiple flowers, multiple kinds of fruit. But not every seed will grow. So it takes effort to make sure that we are monitoring our seeds, and it takes attention, it takes a kind of awareness. Again, that can feel daunting. But if you take it slowly and you make it about the connection between you and whatever it is that's growing, you start to see things very differently. And all of a sudden, it starts to stop being as daunting as it is an opportunity. I see every seed as a metaphor for choice. And I will plant this seed as I discuss that choice. Every seed can grow something if it is in the right environment, if it's taken care of. Many of us don't think about how our choices that we make every day are similar to seeds. If we think about the seed to choice, then we start to be conscious about our choices. So as I plant this seed, I'm going to plant it with the idea of love, kindness, patience, and positivity. So as its roots grow, they will yield wholesome roots that will give us trees of prosperity, yielding fruits of success. And the more I think about planting seeds in that fashion, the more I am conscious of the choices I make, the more I am conscious of the fruits we are to yield in our future. We can learn so much about gardening, and at the exact same time, we can learn so much about ourselves. Learning about ourselves through gardening helps us not only sustain the connection between us and the plants, but it also, again, helps us better our well-being. When I look at the plant and I'm reminded that the plant has to have a specific kind of soil, it wants to grow in a specific zone, it needs a certain amount of light and a certain amount of water, I'm reminded that I too am a living creature that needs to be nourished and maintenance regularly. I have to be conscious of the choices I make because they are going to influence my growth. I also am affected by who I grow around and where I grow. As I embrace these lessons that I learned from the garden, I become a better person, and I also become a more attentive gardener. Everything that we learn in the garden can be applied to life at large, and it can be used to better our communities and our environments. So I think it's really important that we all stop for a moment and take the time to think about the seeds that we plant, and that those seeds represent the trees of our future. If you would like to know more about what I do, you can check out any of my social medias. You can check out TikTok and you can check out TikTok at Garden Marcus. You can check out Instagram at Garden_Marcus. Thank you again so much, Ferry-Morse, for having me. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I wish you the best with gardening this spring.